One of the things that we have discovered is that the freer the economy is, the more human flourishing you have. And so what we see when you have deregulation, less corruption, more transparency in government, that the capitalism, under those circumstances, you see less poverty rates and you see people rise and you see human flourishing.
Well, look, I have a son and I ask him what's going on in his life, and I have a mother and she asks me what's going on in my life. And it's strange credulity, in my opinion, to believe that the entire time that he was vice president of the United States, that he wasn't asking his son what he was up to in terms of his business dealings, particularly since they traveled together to foreign countries.
But this is really important, and it's not just rhetoric. It's actually an incredible concession and an admission. They were threatening war. Now they've backed completely away from that, and it demonstrates that they've given up on the Europeans getting out. They know that's not going to happen. That's going to not work. Closing the straits didn't work. So they've kind of conceded here that they haven't been able to break the back of the pressure campaign.
The protests originally started in response to an extradition bill, which would have enabled any individual for any reason at Beijing's request to be extradited to China. That posed an existential threat to freedom in Hong Kong and was a great reason for people to take to the streets. But as protests continued, really we saw demands proliferating.
So if Britain exits under a no-deal scenario on October the 31st, Britain is going to do just fine outside of the European Union under a no-deal scenario. It simply means that Britain trades with the rest of the world under World Trade Organization terms. And Britain is the world's fifth largest economy. There's a huge amount of foreign investment continuing to flow into Britain in the Brexit era. I think Britain's going to do very, very well outside of the EU under a no-deal scenario.
My book is exactly as you portrayed it. It is basically, I start from the beginning and explain why American history is under attack right now, the individuals and the ideas, most importantly, that are under attack by the left, especially the American founding. But really, it's American history, American ideas, what we've been built on this country, what made this country great. I think for many, especially on the far left, they see their collectivist doctrines working in polar opposition to these ideas, which I think is why they need to go back through American history. They need to erase it. They need to change it to fit their goals.
We shouldn't kid ourselves that if you look at the spending proposals that Bernie Sanders, Senator Warren, and others are proposing, those are going to require vastly larger taxes, and not just on the rich. We're talking higher taxes on middle class and lower income Americans. We've done the math, and European-style welfare states charge people making about $40,000 a year $6,000 more than they pay in the United States. So if we're going to move towards a European-style welfare state, we also need to be prepared to pay those higher taxes.
These are officers who have sworn to uphold the Constitution, and now they're being put in a position where they either do that or they can potentially lose their job. It's only good for the virtue signaling for local politicians.
Does this constitute a high crime and misdemeanor?
Well, so it's not a phrase that is interpreted in the Constitution. It's not defined in the Constitution. It has been interpreted over the years to include gross abuses of practice. The impeachment process is not meant to settle political disputes. That's why we have elections.
The dirty little secret is even if they were able to impose this unconstitutional tax, even if they were able to confiscate every dollar of income for those earning more than $200,000 per year, it leaves a gaping hole. And the only way to fill that gaping hole is to raise taxes on everybody else